Is it really possible to feel better about money and finances, even when you're watching every penny, you're not seeing more come in, and you don't know when it's going to come? I want to talk about how your relationship with money has a much bigger impact on your stress when it comes to money and finances than how much is in the bank account or not. Overwhelm, reaction mode, and just keeping up are the old way.
You need real, root-level strategies and practical steps to grow your business or ministry without exhaustion and burnout.
Hi there, we're Anna Saucier
And Megan Gephardt,
best friends and business consultants who help faith-filled women create sustainable growth through simple strategy with a people-first approach.
Here at Apostolic Fruit, we hope to offer you clarity, support, accompaniment, and healing,
one tiny step at a time. I'm Anna Saucier, co-host and co-founder of Apostolic Fruit. And this is a really vulnerable topic for me because, like most of the things, well, let's be honest, all of the things that I speak about here in the podcast or coach my clients in every day, I do not have this all figured out. Even 18 months ago, my relationship with money was a real mess. I was basically operating on let's call it a spaghetti on the wall, hope and pray, duct tape-based solution when it came to budgets and finances. Well, to be perfectly honest, there were no budgets. I was just reacting. And I want to share with you what helped me and the way that we work with our clients on this, because for me, it took using a very different approach than anything I'd heard from experts in the past. My mindset was pretty much, in terms of budgets and taking care of finances, that I was just bad at it. I did not take care of money well. I didn't know how to do finances. And my mind believed that budgets don't work for me. I think these are some of the stories that I experienced. Luckily, as a business owner, a bookkeeper was one of the first things that I ever outsourced in my business. And I highly, highly recommend this. But that meant that I also tended toward the method of hiding from money and finances. Have you experienced this too? The hiding approach of hoping it all works out and only pulling out and looking at everything and catching up when I absolutely needed to, like around tax time, right? Healing from this approach, both the stories that I was playing in my head and the hiding approach that I was taking with money and finances, took both an internal and external approach to move toward healing of this. And that's what I'm going to share with you. So let's talk about the outside first. Yeah, we're going to talk about budgets. If you hate doing budgets and keeping up with the finances, and this is another place, kind of like marketing, where a lot of us will say, well, if somebody else could just take care of it, or I wish that I just didn't have to deal with the money at all. And I understand that. We're going to look at that a little bit when we talk about the internal work and where that might be coming from. But in terms of actually having a budget, and I still have in my brain, like, this is a bad word, budget, right? I have such a long-lived experience of, budget doesn't work for me. And again, we'll talk about that in the internal work. But here's what I want to say to you about the actual budgets. You may not be working with the right format for your brain. It's the littlest things often that can make a huge difference when we're talking about tools in our business and processes. And oftentimes we think, oh, well, I just have to do it. I just have to get myself to do it. I'm the problem, or I'm the one that needs to change and adapt to this tool. I want to challenge that and invite you to think it may not be you. It may be the type of tool or the format that you're using. So for me, a lot of budgets that you see, like on a spreadsheet, is a very vertical top-down approach, and you have to scroll through all the things. You know, you have income at the top, and then you have all your expenses, and then you have your profit at the bottom. And I have to tell you how big of an impact it made for me. And it sounds even kind of funny to say it, but the first time I saw a horizontal format in a budget, the format that I use now, it made such a huge difference. it's really, really surprising how big of a difference it made for me to be able to see everything all at once in this more horizontal type format rather than this vertical line. Okay, so I bring that to your awareness. That format might be something that really helps you, or it may be a different format. And first think about, maybe it is the tool. Maybe I need to see and do this differently, and I don't just have to push myself through. Okay, another piece of the external tool, the way that we use these tools, and this one may seem really obvious, but it wasn't to me, had the way that I thought about what a budget did shifted. I didn't look at a budget as a decision-making tool. How my brain saw a budget was like a tool of judgment. In the case of, I'm going to make a budget, and then at the end of the time period, whatever it is, this monthly budget, I'm going to then look at what I actually spent and see how bad I did. Can you relate to this story in your head? Like, that's what was playing for me. And of course, I'm not going to like a budget if the purpose of it is to tell me I was off, to tell me I did it wrong. When we're doing budgets with clients, and the way that I learned to do this, and that now that we're implementing this perspective shift with our clients, we're looking at budgets as decision-making tools for everything else in the business. So when we're working with a client and we're using this horizontal budget format, the first thing they're putting in is all of the expenses, our monthly and annual expenses, because the first thing we want to look at is, what does it take to support this enterprise? What does it take to support the business, the people, and the tools that are serving, that are bringing the service, the program to life for the people that we want to work with? So we get all those expenses in first, and then we say, okay, great. Now we know what we need. Right? This helps us to make decisions about what offers we're going to be offering. What are we going to be putting out there? The pricing of that. How many of them do we need? What marketing are we going to do in order to sell this amount of things, this amount of coaching programs or widgets or whatever you're working with? And it may seem simple, but this perspective shift tells us that now we are looking at this tool to help us make other decisions. It's not here to tell us how bad we did, right? We have worked with many clients who came in, and when we start to work with them, this is a major part of our Radically Simple business plan, is the budgets and finances and financial steadiness. And I've heard from many clients who came in very skeptical about setting up a budget. And I remember one in particular, she said to me, I'm going to have a lot of mind drama around this. And this is someone who has an employee, she has a small team. And I want to bring this to attention that there's no shame in this. There are so many, even larger teams, even larger organizations. But it's also very common in the smaller teams, 2 to 10 people, that we are still operating in reaction mode when it comes to financial steadiness. And this is a really important area that we need to look at. We need to look at, what are the tools that we're using? Are they working? Are they not working? And if it's not working, let's change that. Right? Let's implement something that actually does work. And so we've implemented these other kinds of tools and perspectives and ways of helping our clients establish financial steadiness. And they think they're going to have a lot of mind drama around it. But when we introduce these formats, there's none of that present. They say, oh, okay, like I see it differently now. And this is really, really important. And what's significant is that it's sometimes these very external things, like you don't have to do a bunch of inner work necessarily in order to have some of these realizations and shifts. The other external thing we want to look at, it was, what are the finances routines? Like I shared in my story, it was so common for me to put it off, and then try and play catch up. You may experience this in other places in your life. Like we may do this with laundry. If you don't have a regular routine for laundry, then it's like, oh my gosh, on the weekend, now we have 10 loads to do. But what would happen if you did 15 minutes of laundry-focused energy every day? It would shift things. It wouldn't feel so heavy on the weekend, and it wouldn't be constantly hanging over your mind that, I got to do this, right? And so a couple of these routines that I want to introduce to you is, see if you can not just do this catch-up work. If you can do little bits of it here and there so that it's not something that's constantly hanging over you. And then you come to this time period and I have to block off like 2 whole days just to catch up with everything. And this comes back to really examining, why does this feel so heavy for me? And it may be because of the tools. All this is connected together, and we bring awareness to what's not working. Why isn't it working for me? Why doesn't it feel good? We'll talk more about that when we get to the internal. So giving yourself some kind of rhythm and process for touching the finances, for doing the things that need to be done in order to take care of it. Okay, let's move on to the inside. This is the deeper work, and both are essential here, both the internal and the external. I want to invite you to ask yourself, what is my relationship with money? We can often try and get ourselves to change, to get over it, to feel better about it. I have to just stop thinking this way about money. Do you need to just do it? But have you really sat with it and got it all out and brought awareness to what's working and what's not working, and what are your thoughts and feelings around it? I want to talk about this relationship with money in terms of a psychology and attachment theory-based concept of either having an anxious attachment to someone or something, or an avoidant attachment to someone or something. And we'll talk about this in terms of a relationship with money. So an anxious attachment is characterized by a strong need for closeness and a fear of abandonment. When we think about this in terms of money, the strong need for closeness and being afraid of abandonment is holding it really tightly, in a feeling of mistrust toward money, not trusting that it will come in as I need it, and also feeling abandoned by money or in money conversations, that money is never there for me when I need it. Or in money conversations, this plays out, if there's any kind of question or tension around money, I want to pull back. There's an abandonment type response to that. So what happens here is that you might experience a need to feel attention from money in order to feel safe. Like it's there, it's covering me, I feel held by it. We have such a closeness with money in our lives. It buys our basic needs. It buys food, and in many cases, it gets us water, it gets us shelter. So we have to recognize that we have a strongly interconnected relationship with money here. And it's important to understand where we are with this. So that's the anxious attachment style. The other possibility is that you may have an avoidant attachment with money, which in people relationships, it's marked by a fear of intimacy and a preference for independence. So when we speak about this in relationship with money, it might be, I don't want to deal with it at all. It's this the fear of intimacy or closeness with it. I just don't want to deal with it. I want somebody else to deal with it. I wish I didn't have to even ask for money. I wish I could just do my passion. I just do my genius and serve and serve the people I want to serve without dealing with money at all. An avoidant attachment, you may also find you avoid handling finances, like that was my story, and hoping everything works out. Okay. So I want to invite you to examine this for yourself. Where do you fall mostly in this, with absolutely no shame in here? The point is the awareness. And then to write a letter, like as if you were in a relationship with this entity, this thing that is a big part of your life. Write a letter to money and be brutally honest about how you feel about it. Talk to it directly, and also talk about how you feel about yourself in the relationship with money. So my main thing was like, I'm not good with money. I don't handle it well. And it's learning more about yourself in that story of I'm not good with money. It's very similar to like saying to myself, I'm a bad wife, right? I'm not good in this relationship, or I'm a bad mom. In this relationship, I'm not holding up my end. I am bad. I'm bad at it. And what do we often feel when we feel like we're bad? We hide. It's a modern day fig leaf thing, right? And once we bring awareness to this relationship, how you feel in this relationship with money, You can then begin to bring more truth to it. Is it true? Am I actually bad with money? Or was I never taught? Was I not trusted to handle money? Was this someone else's assessment of my money skills, maybe as a 9-year-old girl, and I held on to that? Is this a story that's playing on repeat in my head? And we can begin to question the truth, bring some more light and awareness to it. And then you can see you can practice in tiny steps to begin to shift the relationship. So I was pretty firmly avoidant attachment with money, meaning I don't want to deal with it at all, hiding from it, hoping everything works out, and only diving in and dealing with all of it when I absolutely had to. So about a little over a year ago, I started touching the finances daily. I was practicing. I would do something with the finances every day. So even if it was only opening up the budget and looking at it, or moving money from one account to another, or entering into my spreadsheet one balance number on one credit card, for example. And as I was doing that, I would affirm myself. I would tell myself, look, we're taking care of the finances. Look at me taking care of the finances. I am learning to steward this well. And it is in those tiny touch points that we begin to shift those beliefs. It's not like a one-time deep dive, let me weed this out internal experience. It's in those little practice points and learning to look at yourself differently. The other thing that was really meaningful in my journey is that I started with the business finances. The personal finances sometimes has another relationship involved, like you may have a spouse that you're sharing finances with. It can feel a lot heavier and deeper. For me, it was much easier to start in these practices with the business finances. So if that might be helpful to you, just start there. So in all of this, remember that this is an internal and external game plan, and both are necessary. Making sure that you have tools that actually work for you. There are hundreds of ways to skin a budget, if I can butcher a metaphor. You don't have to mold yourself into one that's just not working for you. So bring awareness to that first and know that you can do it differently. And please, please, please do the internal work too. Both are necessary. And if you want to go deeper in this and be guided in it, my colleague, Elisa Frankum, and I offered an integrative healing money workshop, and you can get the replay for just $25. You can find that at apostolicfruit.com/money.
We hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take a moment to share it with a friend?
If you haven't already, come connect with us human to human at apostolicfruit.com/connect. When you're ready, we'd love to support you more deeply.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you,
and turn his face toward you and give you peace.